Alright everyone, now we'll find out more about copyright. Hi Alvina.
Hi Denise.
So I spoke with Joel about copyright in music, but I want to learn more about copyright in photos. Can you help me with that?
Yes, I'll try.
Okay. Alright, so I'm looking to get a photographer to help me take some pictures of me and my merchandise. So who owns the copyright when I'm commissioning a photographer?
So generally, the default position is when a person creates a work, they own the copyright in it. So that's the case even if they were commissioned to create that work.
Okay, but what if I want to own the copyright instead?
So when commissioning the photographer, you can negotiate to own the copyright instead. Although you may wish to consider why you would want to own the copyright in the photos, given that negotiating to own copyright may sometimes involve the payment of an additional fee. When you commission a photographer to create photographs, you can simply get permission to use the photos for the purpose you have commissioned them for without owning the copyright.
Right, so if I'm sure that I won't need the commissioned photos for any other purpose, say for example licensing to another party, then I won't need to negotiate for the full copyright ownership.
Yes, and remember, it's best to have your commissioning agreement documented, whether through a written contract or by email, even if it is to confirm the default position. You should consider and include clearly in the agreement at least these three main points. First, who will own the copyright in the work? Second, what rights you have in the work and how you may use the work? Third, what rights the photographer will have in the work and how the photographer can use the work.
I see, and if it was agreed that I will own the copyright to the commissioned photos, it means that I can do anything with the photos, like for example, posting on social media, printing posters, or even creating an NFT of that photo?
Well, it depends on what you've agreed upon in the commissioning agreement. If it was agreed that the copyright resides with you with all rights of use, then you're free to use the photos however you wish. However, if the copyright was sold to you with only distinct rights of use, then you have to stay within the agreed purpose. Another thing you should consider is the photographer's right to be identified. When you use a person's work in public, you need to credit them unless they agree not to be credited. Again, this is something you can negotiate with your photographer in the commissioning agreement.
What about if I agree to let the photographer own the copyright? Can they use it in any way that they like?
Copyright ownership does not grant free rein to use a work. Other laws continue to apply, such as personal data protection law, defamation law, and criminal law. In particular, the Personal Data Protection Act gives individuals control over how their personal data, like their image, is used by others. This means that even if the photographer owns the copyright in photos of you, they will still need your consent if they intend to use them. For example, wedding photographers may want to use bridal photographs in their professional portfolios with the couple's consent.
Alright, so just curious, you mentioned that a person who creates an original work owns the copyright in it. But what if someone else also creates a similar work? How do I prove that I created it first?
Well, one way to prove the date of creation is by keeping a time-stamped copy of the works you've created. It could be a photo, a digital document, or a recording of your works.
What about getting inspiration from others? What do I have to consider when using someone else's work, or if I took reference to someone else's work? Can I use freely available content online as long as I credit the source?
No, you should always get the copyright owner's permission before using their work. Just because something is available online does not mean that it's free to use. And crediting a creator is not the same as getting permission to use their works. Copyright infringement is serious and can lead to financial penalties, so always make sure that you get permission before you use someone else's work.
That's true. I wouldn't want someone else to use my work without my permission either. But what if the use of the work was very limited, all for a charitable purpose? Can I rely on the defense of fair use, which I've heard about?
So fair use is an exception to copyright that allows you to use works without having to seek consent if your use is fair. Whether the defense of fair use can be relied upon is a matter to be determined by the courts if a case is brought to the court after the works have been used. There are at least 4 factors that the court will consider. First, the purpose and character of your use. Second, the nature of the work you're using. Third, the amount and substantiality of the portion of the work you are using in relation to the whole work. And fourth, the effect that your use will have on the potential market for or value of the work. So fair use depends on the specific facts of each case, and I can't tell you in advance whether something or not is fair use.
These are some really awesome tips. Thank you for answering all of my questions. iPause has also prepared a range of fact sheets for creators, performers, and businesses too, so feel free to check them out. We have one final episode just for you. We'll be talking about trademarks, so you want to tune in. See you! So have you heard of it?